I won this election. This was completely fraudulent, but I'm stepping down. I hope he does something like that. People will totally, you know, totally crucify him for doing that, but I don't even care. Fuck it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. I agree with that. I think, you know, look, the first thing you need to do to people listening, I'm going to go ahead and assume that the courts don't rule in the way that people are anticipating here. I'm just gonna 1 second. I'm fixing something here.
There you're good. Mine's messed up too, but
Well,
I'm
we
like,
just
whatever. I don't care.
this for those of you watching. This is just us just having fun in the middle of the night. I
Yeah,
should
we're
be
just
in bed.
messing around.
This is where I should.
Yeah,
be.
same here.
But
I'm gonna regret this tomorrow.
yeah. So you know, I mean, to me, it's, you know, you have to. The first thing we should do is, assuming we lost, which, you know, I think I've predicted that all along, and I don't think the courts will do anything. You have to take stock of why we lost, and the first thing you have to do is admit what we did wrong, what you did wrong as an individual, which I have a litany of stuff that I'm going through, what I could improve on, and then what did Trump do wrong? You know, like, there's so many things Trump did wrong. Like, how about this? Why didn't he pardon Julian Assange?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
it could have ended the whole Russia collusion crap right there. You know, and there's tons of stuff. Why didn't he declassify? Well, in 2018, why didn't he declassify the evidence of the coup? Why wasn't his team putting all this evidence out about Biden so much earlier?
But Robert, let me push back on you for a second on this. When you say all that, why? How can you not say that it's not very possible that he wasn't just, this isn't all WWE, like kind of the Dustin route, where it's like everything you're listing off, why he didn't do all of this. There's no good damn reason why he didn't do all this unless he was a complete moron, right? And or he was freaking, it's all fucking Playhouse 90.
Because, look, it's possible. That's possible. But again, to believe that, then you would have to believe that this was set up by the establishment well before Trump ran. You would have to believe that the establishment, like, this is like, to me, if you take out the picture of us being in the United States, because we're living in it. So, like, look at somewhere like Syria with Assad. It's like the people that say, well, Assad gassed his own people. So the first question you have to ask is, why? He's winning. He has total control. Why would he gas his own people? The only chance he has of losing is gassing his own people. So why would the establishment that's cruising to victory, cruising to total control of the American populace, why in 2016 when they decide, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw a wrench in this whole thing. Like, I just don't see it. All they had to do, like, with the tech control, with, like, deep fakes and the technology they'll have coming in the next 20 years with 5G, like, they're going to have total control. Why risk it? It just seems so, it seems like such a, could there be advantages to them putting Trump as a mole, getting people to support Trump, then getting a list of Trump supporters, that's not the type of deep state that I believe exists. I don't believe it's guys in smoky rooms smoking cigars with Illuminati symbols and shit like that. I believe it's a bunch of people that are like, we are corrupt, we're in charge, we're happy to be corrupt and in charge, we'll keep the ball rolling.
Hi guys.
You know, that's my opinion. But again, it doesn't matter. Like, none of this matters. It's clear that there was a failure with Trump, regardless if it was because Trump intentionally failed or Trump tried and he failed. I think the more reasonable answer is he trusted the people around him. I think he talked to Bill Barr. I think he talked to all the people around him, and they were telling him, "Oh, Mr. President, all this corruption is going to come out, but you have to do it a certain way. You don't want to rock the boat. So we're going to do it this way, and then all the corruption will come out, and then you'll win in a landslide." I think he probably believed up to 2 weeks before the election that Comey and Clapper and all this evidence of the coup against him was going to be made public, and people were going to be like, "Oh my God, this is so terrible," and I'll vote for him. It seemed to me his tone changed right around the time the Hunter Biden story came out, where he was like, "Why the hell is no one talking about this?" And
Well,
I think
let me ask
that's
you a
when he
question.
realized, you know.
Let me ask you a question. Why did he put Bill Barr in place? Why did he put Rosenstein in place? Why did he put Ray in place? Why did he put these people that were so clearly corrupt people? With a Google search, you can find out this stuff. Why was he connected to to contact tracing with Bill, with Parcell? Why was he pushing the vaccine? Why did he have, close relationships with Bill Gates? Why did he put Fauci and Birx in charge next to him? Why did he change his tune on all of that stuff? Was he part of it, or was he just a complete moron?
He just got led around, I think. I honestly think he did. He
So
got
the
led around
moron?
and he got advised to pick the wrong people on purpose. He just got had. I think he got had,
So
honestly.
he's a moron.
No, I don't think he's a moron.
Alternative options that were around him. Who were the alternatives that were around him?
That's exactly the point, Rational. So you can't, right? Like, you have to understand, Trump wasn't as much of an outsider as someone like we would be necessarily, right? So it wasn't like someone that came in and was just like, oh, well, I don't trust any of this shit. Trump was like, yeah, I played the game. I'm a billionaire. I know politicians like their palms greased. I know about that. I'm getting involved, whatever. So he gets in there. He's not going to just hire Rob Knorr, guy with 20 viewers on YouTube channel, to be his, I mean, it's not going to happen. And so you have
would
to
have
have,
fixed a lot of the bullshit.
right. You have to have someone that has some sort of credentials. Well, the problem is the deep state's so deep, everyone with those sort of credentials are involved. So who do you do? Who was he going to appoint if not Jeff Sessions? Bill Barr? Like, what were his other options? Who was he going to put? And I think you could tell the people he put
I think
around
there's
that.
plenty of options, though, man. I don't know the names, but there's got to be people out there that, I mean, he could have. His whole thing was he was going to drain the swamp, and instead he proliferated the swamp. So I don't know. There's just stuff. So he was a moron.
I mean, again, it's an irrelevant conversation. Like this is like saying,
I'll tell you what's irrelevant.
What's that?
Just kidding.
No, to me, it's irrelevant because it's like this. It's like, well, we lost the game. Did we lose because our quarterback was, paid off, had bets, so he intentionally lost the game? Or did we lose because he's shitty? Well, we lost. So, I mean, instead of acknowledging we lost, what do we do moving forward? Instead, we're like, well, did we lose because Trump was in on it? Or did we lose because he put bad people around him? I think he put bad people around him.
But don't you think that there does make a difference on that? I mean, that does make a difference, I think, in a way. I think, yes, we got to realize we lost, but if we realize we lost because this dude was in on it, or, opposed to this guy was a moron, I think that does make a difference.
Well, practically, it doesn't, though.
I mean,
Here's the thing, though.
Like, from a practical viewpoint, it doesn't actually matter whether he was in on it or not. I mean,
Right.
We know what we know now. So there are certain things about Donald Trump that we can't know, and we're never going to know. We can only guess on that. But one of the things that we do know for sure is that he did an enormous amount to expose to us what he referred to as the deep state. Right. So I look at it from the viewpoint of, okay, even though Donald Trump lost, even though things have turned out badly in some ways, and some of this stuff is quite negative. We don't need Donald Trump to be the head of a populist movement. A populist movement can be based around anyone, and ideally, you probably wouldn't even have it based around an individual. You have it based around groups of people that have a common idea, and you build a movement. It doesn't require one person. But what Trump has done, from my perspective, anyway, as an outsider, looking in on this thing and following it pretty intently, is he has really exposed just how unbelievable what Trump has done and wide the corruption is in the United States. And it's not just people in the US that see it; it's people right across the West. I'm in Australia, and I see this stuff, and it is mind blowing. And yeah, look, there is a part of you that says, "Oh, it's a difficult situation to be in because you kind of feel helpless at the fact that we all know that this is fraud. We all know that this election's bullshit. We all know that Donald Trump got ripped off, and there's nothing that we can do about it. But at the same time, it isn't just us that see it. There are people on the left even that have looked at this and that have said, "Oh, hang on, there's something not right here." There is the opportunity for a movement to be built. So, you kind of think about it like you got to play a long game, and when we talk about the deep state and that kind of stuff, they're just individual people. They're not superheroes. They're not people that have some amazing prescient ability to look into the future or anything of that kind, right? They are just people, and they screw up, they make mistakes, they get things wrong, right? And we can build a movement.
No, I don't disagree.
No, Rob.
No, go ahead. I know Dronetek wanted to say something.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm here. Oh, my button keeps like moving. I don't know what's going on here. Something weird's going on with my OBS. Anyway.
Good thing I'm not an epileptic. I'd have had a fit then.
Yeah, it's weird. So I got to minimize it while I'm talking, apparently. Oh, no, it's because I keep hitting my transmit button. I don't need to. I don't know why I'm doing that. Anyway, Yeah, I was gonna say to your earlier comment about Trump being surrounded by bad people, guys. I mean, and I hate to be a broken record, it is my focus. The media, as corrupt as we can see the media is, and we can see that the tech giants are, and that they're willing to. I mean, we all know that they combined with Hollywood and academia. Okay, all that power combined, it's almost like unbeatable. Like, I've been saying for years that we're barely just treading water at this point. And now, we're probably going to lose this election. I like to hold out a little bit of hope, but I'm coming to terms.
I see everyone in your chat. Let's just get to it. Like, I get the hopium and everyone wanting to hold out. Fine. First off, let me say, I'm going to be pessimistic, but it's not pessimistic because acknowledging when you've lost is the first step in order to be able to win and to start win again, right? So let me say this.
Agree.
Let me say this from the outset, and if any of you disagree, let me know. I think we'll lose. I'll be more than happy to come in here and eat crow if we win. Anyone disagree with that in the panel?
No.
No, not at all.
Okay, now, for all of you that are in the chat saying, oh, you're a bunch of damn defeatists, we're clearly going to win. Clearly, it's a 99% victory for Trump. Let me ask you, how many of you said Trump was going to take 48 out of 50 states? Now, you're going to bullshit us. You're going to say, oh, it wasn't me, it was the other guy, but it was most of you. So, you were wrong about that. You under-anticipated the actual corruption that would occur. You were wrong about that. Secondly, how many times are you going to be disappointed? How many times? Bill Barr, trust the plan, man. Oh, Bill Barr, he's going to do everything. These criminals are going to be brought to justice before the election. And then when they're not, on to the next excuse. So now we're going to rely on the Supreme Court. The same Supreme Court that in a 5-3 decision ruled that you can't go to church in Nevada, but you can go to the casino. That's the court. That's the court we're going to rely on now. That's what we're going to do? We're putting all of our hopes in that court. How many times will conservatives learn these establishment institutions do not have the back of the American people? But that's it. That's who we're going to rely on. What next? If the courts don't work, are these people on the chat going to be like, well, we'll send it to the FBI. The FBI will help Donald. Chris Wray will take care of it. I mean, it's just, at some point you have to be like, this is unbelievable. I'm watching Trump supporters cheer the corruption on, cheer the obvious theft of this election because they're like, aha, the theft of the election proves we'll find out there was a theft of the election. It's just unbelievable to me.
So, yeah, I mean, here's my thing, guys. God, here we go again. I agree with Robert 100%. We need to come to terms with what's going on here, and we need to deal with the fact of what we're we have almost insurmountable odds to deal with, but we have an opportunity coming here. I think if Biden ends up being the president, the media is going to be in the tank. It's going to be completely obvious. The tech giants are going to be censoring everybody. It's an opportunity, and I think that's what we need to be looking forward to.
Every single person,
though. I mean,
the opportunity is going to be, it's going to be just more mounting evidence. I mean, I just feel like
but what does it matter? I agree with you.
It does matter. Well, yeah, I mean, I see what you mean, because what happens is the media for 4 years during a Republican administration basically just tortures the population for 4 years into doing what they want to do. I know, guys. I mean, I'm trying not to be black pill here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every one of these.
I don't know all the colors of the pills.
Yeah, just let me ask the audience. Just let me ask.
To
right?
an assumption that.
Go ahead, Brad. I'm sorry.
Again, this comes down to the assumption that the people that are opposed to us are somehow omnipotent or have some power that we don't have. That's bullshit. I mean, yeah, sure. Like they have the media and they have Hollywood and they have big tech and they have all of this stuff. And you go, okay, yeah, looks insurmountable. No, fuck that. There's no reason to think that way.
Okay, so let me ask the audience here.
I don't think it is insurmountable. I'm saying that we have an opportunity here. Sorry, go ahead, Rob.
So let me ask the audience here. So all of you that are so certain, you're all certain. So we have a litany of people that are certain in your audience here that this is going to be overturned. On the 0.5 billionth of a percent chance that you're wrong, then what? Are you going to say, oh shit? Or are you going to say, yes, this is part of the plan? See, the plan was to have Trump lose, to have the courts roll against him. Then he could expose even more corruption. Is that going to be the argument? And what people don't understand is, and this is the most frustrating thing, and this is what I was telling you the other night, SJG. This is what's most frustrating. Instead of coming together and saying, the plan is us, we are the people, that need to make changes. We are the people that can help change and wake people up to this corruption. Instead of that, the same Trump supporters that talk how deep the deep state is are now totally relying on the court. They're saying, every Trump supporter on here that's saying I'm a defeatist, this is the argument they're making in de facto. You ready? Oh, we should just sit back and do nothing. We've won. The courts are going to take care of it all. We can't change the court's opinion. We know that. So you've put it in the hands of the courts. That's what they've done. I'm saying instead of that, we should be out there doing everything we can right now to wake every single person we can up to how massive this corruption is and how they screwed Donald Trump over. That's what we could be doing. We could be out there trying to get rid of the rhinos like Lindsey Graham that allowed this corruption to occur and refused to do anything about the coup. That's what we could be doing. But instead, there are millions of Trump supporters out there right now saying, yes, we believe the deep state is so deep that it's been against Trump for 4 years, something I agree with them about, but we're going to rely on the deep state to correct this election. That's their argument. It blows my mind. And then, once they're proven, again, everyone's like, will you come on live stream and eat crow? I will happily come on and eat crow. I'll sit here for 4 hours and let you all make fun of me. Absolutely. And I'll be happy to do it because I care more about the country than being proven right. But we'll see.
If this does happen, I'll kiss my poodle's pooper. I'll pucker up and kiss my poodle's pooper on live camera if this gets returned.
We might have all said that the first time, but I'm with you. I've kind of been coming around to just accepting it and moving on from there. I'm with these guys, and I know how many of you guys. I love all you in the chat. I love all you that support me. A lot of you guys are being really mean to Robert. I don't know why.
It makes
yeah, but
me
why?
Happy. Well, because
why, Robert?
Here, let me take
do
the
any
heat
of you
off.
guys know Robert?
Let me take the heat off Robert.
He is. He's one of our greatest allies. Why would you?
I don't mind it. I know what's happening. Go ahead, SJG.
They must have not heard me earlier when I was thinking, you know what? Trump's either a dumb motherfucker or he was part of this whole thing. That's the way I feel right now. I'm salty as a son of a bitch, and I know everyone knows me.
And I disagree.
I'm salty right now.
I disagree with that. I think Trump's the greatest president we've ever had. I think Trump was,
I thought he was.
one. I know we disagree. I think that Trump appointed bad people around him. He didn't realize how deep the deep state was. That's what I feel the problem with Trump was.
So he's stupid.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's one way of putting it, but that's like saying, well, SJG, do you trust me in Dronetek? What if we're against you? Were you stupid? Or did you just make a bad decision? I don't think it's...
He made a lot of bad decisions then.
He made a lot of bad decisions.
All right.
But
and I thought
that doesn't change the fact that let's look at what he did. He's done so much, though. I mean, 3 Supreme Court justices. I mean, that alone may make that 4 years worth it, right? Yes, no?
Yeah, but wouldn't have any Republican president that's been in there when they had that opportunity of elected?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of other Republican presidents would have done what other Bush and would have tried to cater to the media to get favor, thinking he would, and then he didn't.
Right, and so
I'm just
George,
trying to take the heat off Robert.
No, that's fine. George says in the chat, Trump exposed everything. The American people need to do stuff. I agree. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying instead of sitting here saying, look, I hope the courts decide this in Trump's favor. I'm extremely skeptical because I've seen how the courts act. Who we got faith in? Roberts? Justice Roberts? That's who you're putting your faith in. Chief Justice Roberts. My point is, yeah, you could still hold out hope if you want, but it's time to assume that they're not going to change it. So what can we do going forward? That's the important thing. If we just sit here and say, oh, the courts will take care of it, and then when they don't, what are we going to say next? And this is the problem I have with the Q people. I think that I know some of the people that were involved in Q, and I thought they came up with some great information, and Q was a great tool for them learning and doing their own research. That's all good. But anytime that you're told to blindly trust something,
and their intentions are pure. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah. If you're told to blindly trust something, what happens is all of a sudden you start making decisions well, everything's going to work out. So I don't need to go out and do anything. I don't need, I'm not going to sit here and talk about what I've done. I'm no better than anyone else, but I'm just making the claim Trump, I think we were lucky with Trump where he was a president that actually listened to his supporters. For example, gun rights, he didn't talk about much until after the Virginia rally. Then he started to talk about. So I feel like we could have been trying to tell Trump from 2018, get rid of Barr, prosecute James Comey now. The IG referred James Comey for prosecution. Do it now. And if Barr's unwilling to do it, get him the hell out of there. But instead, we had millions of Trump supporters saying, trust the plan. And so that's what Trump did. He trusted the plan.
You know what? Barr basically was willing to go so far, and basically I think he just folded under the pressure and wouldn't go any further. I think that's what happened with that. But
so I'm still, though.
Yeah, can I just say, I agree with you, Rob, on that. I mean, I'm not an American, so when I say we, I'm just talking about, more broadly, people that are on the right, conservative, that kind of thing. I think that we sort of let go of our agency. That is a real problem. We can't rely. If you want to save, you go to Jesus. That's not going to work. We actually, we have to be involved in the process. And I just want to say, Rob, I completely agree with you. But sitting back and waiting for Trump to do everything on our behalf was not a good idea right from the start, and it was never going to be a good idea. And it's not really the way that we're meant to be. We kind of, to me, it kind of says that we're much more individualistic. We're much more into the idea that we have agency, we have the ability to change things. How a lot of people were sort of lulled into letting Trump. They just sat back going, "Oh, we'll trust the plan," but that's not going to work. We have to be involved. We have to be active in that plan. Control. We don't know what's going on. So yeah, I'm completely with you on that one, Rob.
Yeah,
but that's we can learn from that mistake.
Exactly. That's the point. That's what I'm trying to like. It's not just Q people. Like, for example, Ben Shapiro and Mike Cernovich, both people. Yeah, I like Cernovich more than Shapiro. I have problems with Shapiro. I feel he was kind of establishment Republican character that I have no respect for. But anyways, they're both like, well, this election sets us up nicely for 2022. Are you kidding me? If this election goes through, there's one of two things that happen. If Biden wins, one of two things have happened. The first, which I believe is what actually happened, is they stole the election, right? There was election fraud in a variety of ways that they were able to steal votes. I think the evidence of that is overwhelming. I can't prove it. I can't 100% prove it. But there's so many little things that each of them show an 80% chance or higher that something fishy went on. And when they all go in the same direction, it's like, yeah, this looks really bad, right? But even if that's not the case, let's say we have someone on here that says, I don't believe fraud occurred. We didn't even need fraud because the election was stolen years before the election was stolen. Because the Republicans that aren't Trump allowed the tech companies to continue to censor conservatives. They allowed the media to continue to control the narrative. They allowed the FBI to engage in a coup against Trump. So all of that control of the narrative was still going to be able to massively sway people and still have a chance that Trump would have lost. If they could drag a dementia-ridden, cognitive decline body like Joe Biden across the finish line that couldn't get 12 people to come see him, whether it be through cheating on election day or just because the media and the CIA and the FBI and the tech companies all pushed him to the finish line, what chance do we ever have to win another election? So when I hear conservatives talking about, well, we're setting ourselves up for 2022, again, this is just like the Q people to me. You're putting your hope in the system, whether it be an invisible person like Q, whether it be in, Republicans in 2022. That's a huge mistake. Instead, we need to realize there is no plan. We are the plan. And it's time for millions of Americans to wake up and say, what can we do that we don't have to rely on some all-powerful figure, whether it be Trump, whether it be Q, whether it be Lindsey Graham? We need to do actions ourselves. And until we admit, that's where my frustration, people are like, why are you so upset? Well, that's where my frustration comes in of all these people like, it's in the bag. The courts are going to roll in Trump's favor. Where do you get this confidence from? To me, it's the exact same confidence that said, it's in the bag. Bill Barr is going to lock up all these coup, participants before the election. It's just not true. And until we start to realize we can't rely on these, we hope they do something, but we're not going to rely on them. We're going to take actions ourselves.
I think it goes, honestly, though, for me, and again, I am kind of salty right now. So for any of my people that are on Dronetek's channel too and are on mine, sorry in advance, but to me, it just makes me feel I've lost all complete faith in any kind of our system. I don't think our votes matter at all. Obviously, I think I don't think our voice matters at all. I don't think I think it's all a big show. And honestly, I do think with the COVID and everything else that's been happening this year, COVID wasn't put in place just to so Donald Trump lost the election. COVID was put in place to bring us into a globalized, the Great Reset, Agenda 2030, a globalization. It was literally that new world order that all the presidents have talked about. That's not a tinfoil hat thing, man. All of them have said it, from freaking George W. Bush to Obama to Clinton to all of them, right? They've all said we need the new world order, the new order, the new world order. This is what this is all designed to bring us into. And you can't have that with a strong America. So here's why I'm saying that I still think there's a possibility that it could get reversed, not because it will be the right, honorable, right thing to do for the American people, but it would be the best way to bring even further division and chaos to America, and that's what I think they want to happen. I think because the establishment isn't just people that love America. The true elite and establishment are global. They're the ones that are betting on both sides of the against both teams, but basically, right? So they come out winning on no matter how it goes. And my whole tinfoil thing is that I could see them putting Trump or reversing the election because they know that Black Lives Matter and Antifa will burn the fucking country down, and they know that patriots won't. They know that the MAGA crew won't. They may flare up here or there for a little bit. They're not going to burn the country down. And if they want to bring total and complete destruction to the country, of which is what I think their plan ultimately is, I could see them putting him back in or reversing the election, but not because it matters of the will of the people, but because it's what the ultimate plan is that they desire. And I know I'm a little out there, but that's something I'm not.
Okay, well then I'll make the same bet with you that I made with the other people in the crowd. So you think the courts will overturn it? I would say there's a 99. I'd say there's a 99% chance that's not the case.
I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying they will. I'm saying if they do, it's for one reason, not because Trump won, not because Trump and the plan worked, not because they care about they care about democracy, but because they want to burn the country down. Because like what you said, Rob, before we started streaming, if they were to do that, they would cause riots the likes of which we have not even seen. And I am saying I don't put it past the deep state to want those kind of riots and that kind of chaos, because they could literally change our constitution and our country with that scenario in place. And, so that's why I'm saying it could happen.
Hey, guys, I got somebody in Discord that wants to just chime in real quick, and we can get back to this. And I just thought we'd pivot maybe just off what this person says. I know that this particular person in my Discord is pretty hardcore when it comes to what we should be doing now. So that's why I wanted to bring him in and just see what he has to say. Seth, are you there? You there? Seth, you there? Oh, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah. Can you guys hear him?
Yeah, I heard him.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, go ahead and chime in. What do you want to chime in with here? What are your feelings on this? What are you willing to accept that Trump lost, or do you think that we should? Is there something that we should be doing instead of just protesting or being angry? What do you think?
At this point, it's kind of to the point where, regardless of the outcome, whether the courts turn it over or not, we're kind of on this warpath now where we have no possibility going forward of having any faith in our electoral process. And what do you do with our democratic republic? How do you actually go forward when you can't have any faith in the process? We'll never be able to regain that trust.
Right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like we've been there for a long time. I mean, and I know what Rob's saying about relying on just blaming these things, but for me, the media has been like that for a long time. So,
and at that point, what options left?
Well, I mean, that's the question. What do we do moving forward? And what do we, I don't know. I'm no genius. I've made mistakes too. I mean, I've tried. I'm not going to get into everything I've done. I busted my ass, though, trying to help Trump, not just on a channel, but I was offered a job through the Trump campaign. I basically didn't take it because they wanted me to get rid of my channel. And instead, I tried to help them with my channel, showing up to rallies, showing up to work with state legislators, work with state people in Pennsylvania here, because we in his camp knew that Pennsylvania was going to be crucial. I did a 24-hour live stream where I interviewed 33 people that were state party people trying to drive out the vote. I ran for office myself in 2019, spent over $8,000, refused to take one donation, and basically ran on Donald Trump being a good president and his platform, and working class people in places like rural Pennsylvania not having a voice. Right? But I made mistakes. So the first thing we have to do is acknowledge why we lost. There are things that Trump could have done better, but there are things I could have done better. There's things Dronetek and SJG could have done better. So as individuals, we all need to say, what could we have done better? My initial thoughts on what we could do is we have to first get rid of the people that appear to be our allies that aren't our allies. So stop watching Fox News. Stop thinking Lindsey Graham is going to be your ally. Stop thinking the courts are going to be your ally. Maybe they will. Maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised. But we need to operate as if these gears and levers of the establishment aren't on our side. Then the next thing we do is find allies wherever we can. And I know that the audience isn't going to like to hear this, but look, it's human nature to want to rub salt in the wounds when you beat someone. So it will be human nature when many people on the left find out that Joe Biden doesn't have their interest at heart and they start paying the price. It will be human nature to look at them and go, ha, we told you you're getting exactly what you deserve. We could do that and it will feel good. Or we could say, yeah, this is why you should join us in fighting this corruption. Because it doesn't matter what your issues are. The only thing that matters is we no longer have faith in our system. The system is corrupt beyond redemption, basically.
Fame.
So we have to reach out to people like that. Now, there's a billion more things and people that will have better ideas than me, but that's my initial approach, what I'm trying to do. Call out the people on our side that we thought were our allies and try to reach out to as many people as I can, even if I disagree with them on 95% of stuff, and say, look, this is where we could come together to find it. Politics is downstream of culture. It's going to probably be 20 to 30 years before we get another president that is going to fight for the people. So what we need to do is start taking back culture.
Can I just jump in with a question? How many people do you think that are going to be disenfranchised by the few weeks that Biden is in before Kamala Harris takes over from him? Because I think we all agree that that's inevitable, yeah? That potato is not going to last for very long. On the left, who become disenfranchised by...
No, they won't. They'll love it.
So that means there are going to be a lot of people who are potentially able to be reached. And it's not just from a conservative perspective. It's from people who want the best for themselves, or who want the best for their country, who want the best for their family. So so you can look at this in different ways. So look, again, I'm agreeing with you, Rob, and I'm not in an echo chamber with you or anything, but I think that's actually a valid point. You can reach out to people because there's obviously going to be people on the left really disenfranchised by the potato or by heels up. It doesn't matter which one of them is in power, right? And those people. Why are they not able to be reached? Because you're saying no. Look, I mean, why would you say they can't be?
Well, no, I'm saying that I don't think that they're going to be disenfranchised. I think that everyone knows, anybody with a functioning brain knows that Joe Biden was a joke, but he was they hated Trump Orange Man bad so much that they would rather take the joke, dementia, sleepy old man over Joe, and they also over Trump. And they also knew that anybody with the brain knows, with Pelosi coming out a month ago and talking about the 25th Amendment, anybody with the brain can honestly look at that and say, oh, I see what they're planning, and they're already setting up. They're setting up for when Joe gets in, that he's going to be, and he's already, and I think he knows that ahead of time going into this, that he wasn't going to fill. I think he's signed off on that he isn't going to fill his whole term, and that Kamala will step in. And it's both because they're both puppets. They're both complete puppets for the deep state. So I don't think there will be any pushback on the left. I think everybody will be thrilled to have the first blackish American woman president. I don't think that people will be disenfranchised. I personally.
But okay, so the two things on that. I don't understand this 25th Amendment argument. I kind of get it. I've heard a lot of people say this. Do you really think that Joe Biden's going to be like, no, I refuse to leave. I'm going to hold on to power, which will require the 25th Amendment? I think he'll step down when they ask him. And so instead of saying, well, he's mentally feeble, he's stepping down, they'll say he has health issues. He's a noble man. He won this election. He tried to bring us together, and he's doing the right time to spend time with his health and his family.
Right.
So he's stepping down. So I don't see the 25th Amendment ever coming into play with Joe Biden. The only chance would be if Republicans use that against him. That won't happen because the majority of the establishment Republicans are Joe Biden supporters and wanted him to win the election. The second question about disenfranchisement, like, you're right in a sense, but so is Rational. Rational's right that they're going to get screwed over. For example, do you think if Black Lives Matter decides to riot outside the Joe Biden White House that they'll be allowed to go with impunity? Not a chance. No. They'll be cracked down on immediately. Those people will soon realize they were useful tools of the Democratic establishment that didn't give a shit about them. That's what they'll realize. And when they realize that, there is an opportunity for the more reasonable ones to reach out and say, we told you so. That's what this is. Now, do I agree with Black Lives Matter? No. Do I agree with a lot of these progressives? No. But we have to reach out and say anyone who's concerned about the corruption needs to wake up. And if you could, and there will be tons of people like that. Now, the truth is, you're right, SJG, because 90% of those people, this is the irony, 90% of the people that will suffer from the policies they just voted for the establishment globalist Democratic Party, they'll blame Trump. That's the irony. If we pass the Green New Deal and a bunch of lefties lose their jobs, they'll say, "Oh, that Trump, it's Trump's fault." But we have to try to reach those people. I mean, what other option do we have? So, I mean, you know, look, and then let's get to the elephant in the room, you know, which is tough to talk about. Violence, right? People talking about using violence. First off, it would be a huge strategic blunder if you were going to engage in violence to be announcing it online. So just from a strategic standpoint, really dumb. Secondly, it is immoral to use this violence. Because if we start to use this violence, it will lead to people that don't deserve to have violence enacted upon them having violence enacted upon them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thirdly, it is...
like, who are you going to fight?
Right. Who are you going after? Because understand... regardless of what you all think, there are millions of Biden voters. I still think he lost. I think there are way more Trump people than Biden people, but there are millions of Biden voters. And most of them, they believed, they hated Trump out of ignorance because they believed the mainstream media. And they thought Biden was good because they believed the media. But that doesn't make them evil. What are you going to do? Start a war with them? You know, and it's strategically, it's not going to work. Because the way this works is the establishment is on one side, and then people like us are on the other. But the vast majority of people are not woken up to either side. Whoever gets those people on their side will win. If you start enacting violence right now, the media and all the people that control the narrative will convince that large mass of people in the center, see, we told you Trump supporters were violent racists. We told you they were evil terrorists trying to overthrow the country. They're not going to treat it like they treated Black Lives Matter and Antifa burning down cities. And the same cops that you supported, and me too, that we supported being attacked by Black Lives Matter and the left, with a smile on their face, they will bring their boot upon us. And there is not, regardless of what people think, there is not...
We've already seen a little taste of that.
What's that?
A little bit of a taste of that, haven't we? With you know, we've had, you know, we saw where there were people who were out the front of one of the polling stations who were, you know, down on one knee, praying, and then you've got some stupid cow from CNN or whatever it was who's inside the polling station and she's looking around fearfully because all of these people that are praying are going to go running in there and beat the crap out of her. And it was never even an issue. And this is the same kind of moron who would have been out saying, you know, that when everything was burning down all around her, that it was mostly peaceful while people are getting shot. So, I mean, we've already seen a little bit of a taste of that.
Well,
but,
yeah,
that's just a reality. Like,
well, in Australia, haven't you seen it more than anywhere, right? Like, they'll come after the cops will come after you for not wearing a mask in a heartbeat, right?
Yep, absolutely they will. And you know, look, we had one of the top cops here in Australia who said the reason why they didn't go after Black Lives Matter when they protested in the early days of the pandemic, when we actually thought that this was a pandemic, which we now know with almost nobody, but back in those early days when we thought that it was okay for Black Lives Matter to protest because they get angry and they get violent and they do all these bad things. We've seen that happening all around the world, and we don't want to upset these people because we don't want them to get angry and do bad things because they're bad people, and so therefore we have to give them whatever they want. But when the good people, the people like me who actually care about my country and want to see my country working, when we go out and we say, look, we should not be locked down because this whole COVID thing is a pile of crap now, the police are going to beat the shit out of us because they know that they can.
Right. And that's exactly what will happen.
He just outright completely said it.
Right. And
yes,
like,
it is. Yep,
there are people,
they'll lock up a pregnant woman, but they won't lock up riders.
Right. And there are people in your chat, Dronetek, like Johnny Five. I see someone like he has the right idea, right? Johnny Five's like, what about a trucker strike? That's a good idea. Yes.
Yeah. That's a great idea, actually.
But the problem is, here's the problem. The first step to having a meaningful strike like that would do something is waking enough people up. And if all the truckers think, man, shit, this sucks, Trump lost, man, that sucks, but hey, at least we have a good chance at taking back the House in 2022, do you think they're going to strike? No. We have to wake people up to this corruption, right? And the way we do that is by not, if we immediately take it to 11, using a Spinal Tap reference, if you immediately take it to 11, all you're going to do is that those people that you need woken up, that would be your allies, that would be good patriots, you're going to turn them off. They're going to be like, we're sick and tired of the riots. We don't want to see Trump people rioting. We don't want to see Black Lives Matter people rioting. And so they're just going to get tired of you. And you'll lose. That's what'll happen.
Yep.
You'll be immoral and you will lose. So I cannot stress enough how against I am against any of this political violence. If someone is directly enacting violence on you, you have the right to defend yourself. If you're going out and trying to enact political violence, that is not strategic and it's immoral as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So what we need... oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to add on to that is that, I mean, my basic principle in dealing with human beings is to treat people like I want to be treated. And so I would never do that. And that should be pretty much everybody's base principle. And we do not want to be the hypocrites that the left constantly is. So why would you ever, and we would play right into their game. Glenn Beck used to talk about this a lot. And I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was something like the Bubba moment, maybe, or something like that.
Bubba effect.
Bubba effect is that, am I right? Is that the right thing that I'm talking about? Where the media would basically just push a right winger or a Bubba to commit some sort of act that they would then use, and they're already doing that. It's funny. It's like that never happened, so they just started sort of blaming violence that was occurring on the right, even though it was coming from the left. Going back. I always like to remind people going back to before the election. In San Jose, we had that mob violence going way back then. So, but yeah.
Totally agree.
Exactly.
And look, people were saying...
Can I just jump in with a question, guys? Do any of you see anything positive in the fact that more vote from, black people and from, Cubans and maybe some other Latinos and some other sort of groups? Like, do you see that there is a potential positive going forward? Like, is that also something that you can look at and maybe the the Republicans starting to reach out to those communities? Because I know, Rob, you've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Let me. Is there a chance now? Has Trump opened a window for that?
So, yes, yes, that is what the Republican Party should become. And it's not just the Republican Party. It is Big Tent, the idea of patriots. The Republican Party is just a vessel in which was the closest aligned to real patriots that had political power. So that's why Trump was in it. That's why we use it. That's why I ran as a Republican, right? There are still establishment Republicans that I hate. There are things there, even with the agenda of Republicans, there's things that I don't agree with. But when it comes to the idea of like that, our coalition needs to reach out to people of color, to like single women, to gay people, like people that are in demographics that normally aren't reached out to. And our message is simple. The founding fathers and the liberties that they outlined in the foundational documents of this country are the best for every group of people, because every group of people are individuals. And our promise is to treat you like an individual and not based like a skin color or a sexual preference or a gender. We treat you based on the content of your character. That's the argument we should have been making. And it's a good sign to see if the exit polls are to be believed that people of color, other groups were actually voting more for Trump. And if the exit polls are to be believed, now, granted, I think it's a fraudulent election, but if we believe the exit polls, it was white men that Trump lost most, particularly white men in the suburbs and older white men. He lost bigger percentages of them, which is why he lost. But I'll tell you real quick, something that I'm more excited than, which I'm going to get laughed at in the chat, but I'm sincere in this. What I'm more excited than just, Cuban Americans, blacks, others voting for Trump, I'm more excited to see rappers' endorsement of Trump. And the reason is this. If you're voting because a rapper told you to vote for someone, you're probably not making the best decision.
Yeah.
But politics is downstream of culture, and conservatives have lost the culture war. And so if we see people with cultural influence, whether it be Kanye West, Lil Pump, Lil Wayne, all these people, I don't really listen to this music.
Lil Pump.
Right. Did you hear what Trump called him? Little Pimp.
Yeah.
Which is great. Not Lil Pump. He's a Little Pimp. But when we see, that's where the battle's going to be fought. We start getting young people. We start showing young people we are the people that have fun. We are the people that can actually go out and have a good time, and you don't have to worry about parsing every word you say because you're afraid you're going to say the wrong gender pronoun, or we're going to go through your Twitter feed from when you were 14 and find something that we could get you in trouble for. That's not who we are. We're fun people. We welcome people of all sorts of backgrounds, right? And we need to start to get in culture. That's why I'm telling people, if you're a patriot, like one of the best things you could do is, what are you, an artist? Whatever you do, you could use that field to inspire people to be patriots. And it sounds dumb. I know when you hear this, people are like, this is garbage. I'm telling you, if we start to take back education of children, if we start to take back the entertainment industry, you will see a zeitgeist shift where people will then be unwilling to just listen to the crap that these propagandist, corporatist, globalists spew on us all the time. So actually, I thought that was a positive step that we could, work off of.
Yeah, and I wanted to chime in just a little bit on what you were talking about, the Cuban Americans and South Americans in general coming on board with Republicans. There's a lot of reasons for that. One of the main ones is being that they see in the Democrat Party that what they fled. And I've talked to immigrants personally, multiple ones, that have told me the exact same thing, that they came over here thinking that the Democrat Party was the people they were supposed to be with. And then over time, they started recognizing this, And so what I've noticed is even recently, there's recent stories on Newsbusters, if you look, that the media is kind of going after these people now, the Cubans and the South Americans who fled. And they're saying, no, Biden's not socialist. What are you talking about? He's not socialist. It's so funny coming from like MSNBC, especially, because I'm pretty sure that's where this came from. Because on MSNBC, they openly praise like Fidel Castro after he died, which I talk about a lot. And they mock people who are afraid of socialism. But that's what you're going to see is they're going to go out and try to convince these people that, no, this isn't socialism or communism. And they'll woo them over by scaring them about white people and everything. So that's what I foresee.
Well, right. And that's why, look, one of the number one issue is corruption. Don't get me wrong. All other issues are irrelevant. But the closest would be, because if we don't solve corruption, then politically our voice doesn't matter. Like if 99% of the people vote for Trump, but they count, who was it? Stalin said, you could vote how you want. It's the person who counts the votes that decide elections. So if they could steal an election, it doesn't matter if 99% vote the way you want. So we have to end that corruption first and foremost. It's that simple. But Trump banning critical race theory from federal offices was probably the single best thing he did, other than any attempts to fight corruption, because critical race theory is toxic, it's racist, it drives racial divisions in this country that will never be solved, it'll just exacerbate them. It is,
well, that's the point,
right? And so we, make no mistake about it, when I'm talking about like rappers and culture, other people in cultures, I could give two shits about ethnic diversity. I don't care. Every time you focus, to me, the only diversity that matters is the diversity of ideas, period. I don't care.
Fucking A.
I don't
Fucking
care at
A.
all. So don't think that that's what I'm not talking about diversity. And I understand there's far more aspects of culture than just entertainment industry. I get that as well. But I'm saying Republicans name me an institution that that gives input to shaping our public narrative that conservatives have any foothold in. Is it the entertainment industry? No. It's almost all Democrat. Is it academia? No. Almost all Democrat. Is it the media? No. Is it tech companies? No. Is it corporate America? No. And increasingly, even churches. I mean, look at the Pope. He's basically a communist, at least a socialist. And you remember, what was the denomination of the church right outside the White House? You remember the one they lit on fire and then Trump went and had the Bible and gave a speech in front of? Like, that woman was a rabid anti-Trumper that led that church. So increasingly, you're seeing more and more churches left-wing. I wouldn't say they're dominated by the left-wing, but they're smart. Alinsky knew. The radical left knows. They know what they're doing. We're busy winning elections. They're busy winning culture. And guess who wins in the long run? Them. So that's where the battle is. The chances of us getting another populist president are slim to none once Trump's out. Now, if Trump would somehow win this court challenge, which I don't think he will, but then maybe we still have hope politically. But if not, the first thing we need to do is focus on culture.
So speaking of culture, that's funny because I don't know, one of your chat, Desert Mob's like, bong hit off camera.
What happened to your video, SJG? We want to see your sexy face, bro.
Oh, is that what they're accusing him of ripping
I was
bong?
reading the chat. Here, let me go. So there we go. Can you see me now?
There you go.
Yeah.
You had some cool like blue lighting and shit coming in. I liked it. Anyway.
That's because my screen was my projector screen went blank, and so it was reflecting blue on me.
I do play RPGs, Rich. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I know what you guys are saying. I feel so I don't know. I'd like the Last American Vagabond, Whitney Webb, the Corbett report, James Corbett from the Corbett report. Those are the kind of the things that I've been feeling like I've been getting the most substance out of listening to those guys who are really more Jefferson-esque, classical kind of. It's what I talked about with Dustin last night in the stream, was just kind of that Jefferson-esque of classical liberalism, that classic, bringing that classical liberal back, getting rid of Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, and just bringing back more of that classical liberal sort of mentality. That's what's gonna help heal our nation and bring us all back together. Is these extremes is what's killing us big time, and people need to be able to, like, I guess it's what Rob's saying too, and we're all saying, is reaching across the aisle a little bit. But getting back to people that agree on the fact that freedom of thought and expression and speech, those are the things that matter. And even if, for instance, I guess it would be a good example would be like, trigger warning. They're not conservatives, right? The dude's pretty liberal, but he's open-minded, and he's rational,
right.
In the way he approaches stuff. And so, that's, I don't know. But for me, I'm just like, I'm very salty right now, because I'm just kind of like, this is all such bullshit. Our freaking democracy is such bullshit. Or our republic, our democratic
we
republic.
got problems.
It's such bullshit.
Problems.
Well, and listen, so again, I keep hearing he's going to win in court. This is absolutely going to happen. Maybe. So let's say that's true, right? Let's say Trump's going to win in court. This is the same thing I said to the Q people. The Q people would tell me I would do a 4-hour video proving James Comey committed crimes. And I know everyone picks up. People were saying I sounded like Iago. Isn't that Gilbert Godfrey? One of the funniest comedians alive. So I take that as...
Yeah, you do.
If I sound like Gilbert Godfrey... One of the funniest things you ever hear is Gilbert Godfrey reading 50 Shades of Grey. He does these like candle... It's hilarious. It's like, if you look it up, it's funny.
I don't know what.
Yeah. I love Godfrey. Telling the aristocrats and shit like that. No, he's funny. But, so let's put it this way. I said the same thing to Q, but we'll put it in the context of this court. The reason I believe he will lose the court case isn't because I don't believe the evidence is there. I believe the evidence is there. I absolutely believe it. It is because I have no faith in our establishment political process to do the right thing. That's why. Because I believe there's a deep state. And I believe I've watched Supreme Court decision after Supreme Court decision that has been horrible and against our civil liberties. That's why. Because I've seen the lockdowns be approved in court that are obvious garbage. I saw this Supreme Court in a 5-3. So that means even if Amy Coney Barrett would have been there, at best it's a 5-4. I saw this court tell Americans they can't go to church, but they could go to the casino next door. I saw that just 3 months ago. So I do not have faith that that same court is going to say, oh, here's corruption, and so therefore we'll rule on it and overturn what people think are the results of the election. But maybe I'm wrong, okay? So let's put it this way. And by the way, I'm cheering for myself to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I will come on here on Dronetek's channel, and you could all make fun of me for 4 hours, and I'll sit here with a grin on my face saying, yeah, I deserve that. Fine, great. Because I care more about the country than myself, so that would be great. But let's say I'm wrong. What harm am I doing saying we need to be taking steps, preparing as if we're going to lose that challenge on how to move forward? What danger is there in me saying that? Am I saying Trump not to fight? No. Trump should drag this out as long as he can. He should take every legal recourse he could. He should declassify everything. And I mean everything. He should, tomorrow morning, he should have the list of the slush fund that was used, your tax dollars, to pay to settle Congress people's sexual assault allegations. That should be released tomorrow. Every instance of CIA drug running, released tomorrow. Every document we have on the Russia collusion stuff should be released tomorrow. I think Trump should fight as hard as possible, but I think we should be fighting as if he's going to lose. So do I do any harm by hoping the court does the right thing, but saying we need to prepare as if they won't? No, I do no harm. But do you do harm saying, trust it, the court's got it, man. It's all wrapped up. We don't have to worry about nothing. The court's going to take all of it all. I don't have to do anything. Yes, that does do harm. And that's why I'm preparing as if we're going to lose. That's all I'm saying. So I get it. Look, and I know what it's like. Look, understand, Trump is the first president that I ever voted for that was elected to office. I was a Ron Paul person in 2018 to 2012. And I watched the momentum that he had, and I watched him be crushed by the establishment. Maybe that's why I'm so jaded. And it sucked. Yeah. And I withheld hope. I said, maybe. Look at how many people were at these Ron Paul rallies. Maybe. And I was crushed. So I get it. I get wanting to hold out that hope. I totally get it. And I don't begrudge you that at all. I'm just saying I don't understand where the vitriol comes if people like us saying, yeah, that's probably not going to work. That's it. We're not saying we don't want it to work. We're not telling Trump not to try. I'll be more than happy to come on here and have you all say, see, we told you so. Yeah. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, dude, nobody here, I don't want to hear any like accusations that anybody here is like not fighting for Trump enough, because everybody that's here right now has been fighting for Trump from the beginning. So, and look, Rob's right. If he's not going to, if this is over, we need to start thinking about what we're going to do next. We need to start moving on. We can't dwell on this stuff, on conspiracies. I hate to say that because I sound like the media, but you know, we're just going to waste our time. Just like this QAnon stuff. Not that I have anything against QAnon, but like others have mentioned, you know, Q's got a plan. Just, you know, wait for the plan and all this stuff. That's it. That's what all of this is reminding me of right now. So,
I have stuff against QAnon. I'll go on the record to say it right now. I got a lot of stuff against QAnon.
I just mean they're not like the media has tried to claim that they're like violent and a threat. And the government has, and it's like they're if anybody goes and looks at the government's claims and the media's claims for why they're a threat, it's a bunch of bullshit. Just read down the list. It's a bunch of random crimes by crazy people that they loosely connect to QAnon. But good, sorry.
No, I was going to say one thing too is, you know, just. The one thing I've been covering for the last 2 or 3 weeks in my videos is the whole transition integrity project. It's like they told you what they were going to do, and they did it. The Event 201, I've said this several times now, but I'll say it again. Event 201 was to the pandemic as the transition integrity project was to the election. It's almost verbatim. So it's like they told us what they were going to do. Sorry, I should turn a light on. I'm too lazy to get up and turn a light on.
Yeah, you're in the shadows. You're just like you're like Rational Wrongthink used to be.
I know.
Now he's a cowboy.
But it's like it's funny to me because they don't even hide it anymore. They just are willing to tell us exactly what they're going to do, and then they do it. And I don't get. It goes along with what Robert says too, of like, because they know we're not going to do anything about it. There's going to be some conspiracy that the ballots were watermarked with a radioactive radioactive waste that glows in the dark, and they can find it anywhere from space. And so they're going to find all the ballots, and everything's going to be okay.
But look, that could theoretically be. It's not as ridiculous as you're making it sound. It's not, and it could theoretically be true. But here's the problem: like, Like this is, let's say that's true.
No, Robert. No, I do not ever want to disagree with you because you are way
I'm not
better
as
at
smart as you
debating and
think.
you'll murder me.
No,
but
none of us want to disagree with you.
But
Robert.
here's
You
the
are
thing,
our-
dude. Robert, no way, dude. Okay, theoretically, yeah, it could be. And like I talked about this with Dustin the other day on the stream, is that all ballots are watermarked. So
Exactly.
yes, they could,
Okay.
but here's the thing. Don't you start with me, motherfucker, and start doing that. You're not gonna do. No, just kidding. But here's the thing. Here's the first thing I thought about when that came to me. So do we really think, with all the leaks and with everything else, that Trump could have kept that a secret from the people who were planning to steal this election in the first place? No way.
Right, probably not.
Well,
that's exactly what I was going to say, SG. The chances of it being kept secret, like I believe there are watermarks. I don't know that it was special to this election. I mean, I assume like they put marks on our money, they probably put marks on the ballot. And if you were to just try to fraudulently copy one, yeah, you would probably be able to be caught. But one, I'm assuming that information would have been leaked. I mean, everyone around Trump, so many people around Trump seem to leak any sort of information anyways. But second, let's assume that's not the case. Let's assume that somehow it was kept secret. Here's what you would have to have happen. You would have to have those ballots be substantial enough that it would be enough to overturn the election. I think if that happened, there's so many other ways to cheat. Like, to me, the more persuasive ways to cheat were like through the CIA program, Scorecard and Hammer. Like, that seems way more realistic. That didn't require any fraudulent ballot. Now, I assume they probably tried to cheat in as many ways as possible. But again, so the people that are like, well, the watermarks will solve everything. Let's say the watermarks, you find 100,000 ballots that were fraudulent because of the watermarks. I think that that's not going to happen. But even if it happened, what is the court going to do? Be like, okay, we throw out these 100,000 ballots. Oh, Trump's still losing in these states. So he still loses the election. Like, so to me, I don't know that watermark issue is worth holding out much hope for. We shall see. Look, I'll tell you right now, I honestly mean this. One of the guests we had on after you the other day, SJG, was intelligence officer Tony Schaefer, big Trump supporter. He's, on Tucker's show all the time. He tweeted out something about these watermarks, so I guess we'll see. But I'm not holding my breath over it. For me, there's other evidence of clear-cut problems. Like one of the best problems, one of the best things I think worth scratching your head. And by the way, I'm glad to be able to talk to you, Rational, because this is from Australia. So is it true in Australia, Rational, that voting is compulsory, that it's illegal not to vote?
That is correct. And it has its own problems.
Right. So what is the average voter turnout?
Voting in
Obvious
elections.
problems that any idiot could foresee.
Right.
But yeah.
But for the sake of this argument, what is the average voter turnout in Australia?
Look, to be honest, I haven't looked at that, but I know that it's not 100%.
That's right. So according to the BBC,
probably I would assume it's in the low 90s.
Exactly. So the BBC did an article in 2016 where it was explaining how UK and US officials detect voter fraud in countries like Africa. And so I think it's illustrating Gabon. At one point, Gabon had like 97% voter turnout. And it was very troubling. And what it says in that article, it says, even in countries like Australia, where it's illegal, voting's compulsory, it's illegal to not vote. On average, the turnout in Australia is 90 to 95%. Our turnout in Wisconsin is going to be over 90%. That's unfathomable. In even countries where it's illegal not to vote, that's the percentage they get. But in Wisconsin, and by the way, it's weird too, because that's only in Wisconsin. So even though voter turnout was up around the country, it was like 73%. But somehow in Wisconsin, it's 91, 92%. That's bullshit.
Right.
It's just, it didn't happen. That did not happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and these things just kind of...
I think all of us...
Good.
Go, Joan.
No, I'm just saying that all these things, which I don't think necessarily amount to stealing the election, definitely amount to eroding people's confidence in the election or in the institution of elections. And it's another one of those things that for the last 4 years, that's all we've heard that the media has accused Trump of doing. And yet that's what they're doing. That's what these states these election committees and shit are doing. So I don't know. It's just once again, they're doing exactly what they're accusing everybody else of doing. Real quick, before we get on, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask a question. Like, does anybody see anything good in the fact that Donald Trump got around 70 million votes? Like, I'm assuming
right, that's pretty crazy.
The deep state would not have cheated on his behalf. Right, so like I know that things are a little bit kind of negative and bleak at the moment, but there are positives there too. You know, I'm trying to look for the silver lining on the cloud. Hey. Like I think that's another good thing to look at. That the fact that more people voted for. That's probably why we're seeing the fraud in this election being so blatantly obvious. Because I would be surprised if, you know, the deep state types knew that Donald Trump was going to get the level of vote that he got, and I suspect that's why they had to cancel the voting in those key swing states for a few hours, because they had to do much more manipulating than what they thought they were going to have to do. So, you know, there is still a chance. Like, yeah, this sucks. This is a setback. That, you know, the populist movement and the right conservative movement across the West lost something big here, because, you know, it impacts all of us seeing this happen. It's not just an American thing, but there are good signs there. There are good things in that. You know, that there were Democrats who moved over and voted Republican, so that there are people who are looking at a populist movement.
And let me just say,
I think that, you know, I look at that stuff and it gives me hope.
Let me just say because someone did correct me. Someone did correct me in the chat. Which is worth saying, that actually it turns out that it wasn't 90% in Wisconsin. It was 72% of the voting age population, but it was over 90% of the registered voters. Now, the claim could be made, well, did that many more voters register, or was it 90% voter turnout registration? Either way, that's what I'm talking about, which is ridiculous. Those are the numbers that are analogous to Australia. That we're not talking about voting age population in Australia. We're talking about registered voters. Of registered voters in Australia, where it's compulsory 90 to 95% vote. That would be the number in Wisconsin as it stands. That over 90% of registered voters going into election day voted.
Okay, real quick, guys. I am gonna. Hey, real quick. Hey, real quick, Rational. We do have some people that want to chime in here, some callers, and I want to bring them in here real quick. Seth, go ahead. You had a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to clear up some stuff about the ballot watermark things. I hear a lot of people talking about that, and you can actually look online. It's a matter of public record that each state has its own guidelines for how ballots are printed up and how they're designed.
Lost you.
At the county level, by guidelines established by the state legislatures. So the idea that there's a DHS sting for the ballots is just not true. It's just not.
Did you guys hear all that?
No.
Hey, can you say that again? Can you say that again? I'm sorry, Seth. Go ahead, say that again. Hey, Seth, can you go ahead and say that again? I'm sorry, they didn't hear you. Say that one more time.
Yeah. So the guidelines for printing of ballots are set at the level of the state legislature. So there isn't a DHS sting with the ballots because they are printed in the county election offices. That's how they can get away with this. They print them on the spot.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah. But then the watermark issue would be irrelevant, right?
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I heard that they were referencing particularly mail-in ballots, and for some reason that made a difference. But
Oh, absolutely, completely.
yeah, so, I mean, it's not something that I've invested much interest in, because until I could, that's one of those, like, for example, there are claims like this, like the watermark claim. How can we verify that? We can't. Or like if someone says, I'm a poll worker and I saw this corruption, that could very well be true, but I don't know what to do with that. That's just me taking someone at their word. But when I could see things like irregularities in voting numbers, the official numbers, that's something that I focus on. When I could see inexplicably so many Democratic cities in swing states stop counting ballots in the middle of the night, only to at 5 a.m. find hundreds of thousands of ballots that almost entirely go for Biden, that's something that I say, yeah, I could see that with my own eyes, and that's troubling. Right? When I see that Republican poll watchers weren't allowed in places like Philadelphia, that's something that I could see a court decision that rectified. When I see the media like Fox News call Arizona with 1% but refuse to call Texas and Florida, that's something we could see with our own eyes, right? When we could see the discrepancy and it seems like there were hundreds of thousands of ballots that where only Joe Biden was filled out and they didn't vote down ballot, and we see the discrepancy between how Biden and the Democrats did at the top of the ticket versus how they did down ballot, that's something that we could actually see, right? So that's this type of stuff that I've focused on potential evidence of fraud, or at least suggesting fraud. I don't know what can we comment on. Hey, did you see that guy? The watermark thing? Maybe, I guess. I have no proof of that. Or did you see this guy at the poll station in Philadelphia that he was with Rudy and he said this? Maybe he could be telling the truth. But I'm not gonna say that he. I don't have much to say until we see if he was telling the truth or not. I guess that's why I haven't paid much attention to the watermark thing.
All right. Well, thank you for that there, Seth. We had another guy in there, but he is not responding, so.
Jerk.
Well, guys, I don't know about you, but I think I'm about to wrap this up. We're getting kind of late. I'd like to keep going, but
yeah,
I personally am gonna have a rough morning every morning because I have little kids. So, and I think Robert probably does as well. So, guys, I just want to thank everybody for coming. Just everybody, quick closing comments here.
I don't know why my ugly mug was on there for so long when I wasn't talking. That's my only comment right now. But no,
the number of watching jumped. So thank you.
Yeah, no, hey, sorry for being so salty right now. I'm just kind of like, I've lost a lot of damn faith in everything, and I just want to focus on, like Robert was saying, culture, because that's what started my channel, was focusing on the craziness in culture, and because that is what directs everything else. And then also just really starting to dig in to all of the corruption, from the wars to the monetary system to our political corruption, and all of that. And I don't care anymore who I'm talking about, and who sits by their name. Like, I don't, what letter sits by their name. I don't care what toes I step on anymore. All I want to do is try to figure out the truth and speak the truth as much as I can, because that's the only thing that's going to matter. And we can't wrap ourselves up in any person or any man or woman and think they're our savior. That is not the answer. We've seen that with Trump. We've seen that with this last 4 years. And that isn't a knock on Trump when I'm saying that. I'm just saying we cannot wrap ourselves up and become what we accuse the other side of being. We have to be different. We have to focus on what matters. And we have to ultimately just be wanting to expose truth at any cost.
Fucking A.
Well, I'm actually knitting myself a pink pussy hat so I can go out on the streets and read like a lunatic. I figure that worked last time, so we'll try that and see if it works.
Do you have any closing comments, Rob?
Yeah, I'm going to be streaming a little while after you close. Apparently, some tough guy leftist is going to come on my chat or my Discord.
Yeah.
And he closes down every time he's on a MAGA chat. So he's going to come on and close me down. And once more, like every single time one of these tough guy leftists claim this, he'll say, "Oh, I can't answer my phone. I'm busy right now." Or he'll come on and within 10 minutes, he'll be saying, "Oh, I got to go." Or he'll resort to just name calling and stuff like that. So you're welcome to come on, JPT3. I'll put the link up in a second. So if people want to watch that from your channel, it's streaming on my channel.
I'm gonna put the link. Definitely go check that out, guys. You guys, that'll be entertaining. I have no doubt about it. So let me put the link here in channel. And definitely everybody start heading over here. Start heading over to this channel to see this. If you still want some entertainment, head right over to Robert Noir.
I'm not going to be up very late, but
yeah.
There
you go. I just have the link.
Yeah, it'll be on my channel.
Robbie's brilliant too. He's worth following. He is one of the best political analysts that I've encountered. He's fantastic. He's well worth following.
Absolutely.
Well, I think
Robert
the same
Noor-
about all of you. I really do.
Okay. Well, the fact of the matter is, Robert is definitely somebody you should go see, and he's going to stream after this, so definitely go check that out. I want to thank SJG Perspective, who is also very talented, and you should also go check him out as well. I'm going to spam his here in the chat here in just a minute, and I thank all of you guys for being here. It's very late. We don't usually do this. I was feeling the need to for some reason. We're all kind of feeling, I think, stressed out, so.
There I am.
Yeah, that's it. So thank you guys for being here, and I'll catch you all sometime next week.
See you guys.
Later, guys.
Catch you later, guys.
All right, I'm still here, audience. Thanks for bearing with me. No, I was just talking. Sorry, I was reading Drone Text chat most of the time because there were a lot of people that were really pissed off at me for being a pessimist. I don't think I'm pessimistic. I think being a realist is a good. No, leave JPT3 TV3. Come on. All you do is get on that Discord link, then click voice channel. It says general. Come on in. We'll wait for a while. I assume he won't. Hey, what's up, Dean Jacobs? What's up, everyone? So my point that I'm trying to make is, look, first off, if you're watching from Drone Text channel, if you came on, why am I yelling? That's just what I do. That's it. Hey, what's up? So the original, for example, on D Live, one of my favorite people, the original thinks that this court case will go Trump's way. I hope that's the case. I'm just a pessimist by nature. I see the corruption and I understood it. Look, understand, I did a 24-hour live stream with basically 30 guests, all of which were Republican politicians, most of it the state or county level, but we had 2 sitting congressmen, 2 former congressmen. We had media professionals, news reporters from all over the country that were guests there, and probably 90% of the people there were telling me it was a red tsunami, that Trump was going to crush it. All right, where do I start? You go, if you're on Discord, JPTV, there's a section on the left there. It'll say text channels, general news, and then it says voice channel. It says general. So click on that, and then we don't need to see your face. We'll just hear you, if that's fine with you. And who knows? Maybe we'll have a civil, good conversation. Bob says, no, what you mean, Rob? We'll see if we can get JPTV3 on here. I can't be up all night. I got maybe a half an hour, and then I got to go to bed. But we'll see. I put you on the spot. Well, the reason I put you on the spot was you said you wanted to call in. So I just assumed. And if you got something to say, that's fine. I'm not unreasonable. I'm willing to listen to people post different evidence, right? Your grandma's asleep. Well, that's good you're with your grandma. I guess that's good. So does that mean you can't do this? All right. Okay. No shame in that, JPTV3. He was going to call in. He was anxious to call in, but now he can't call in. His grandma's sleeping. I'll assume you're telling the truth. That's fine by me. You can't call in. That's fine. But you understand it looks suspect. Just like this election. Looks suspect. You seemed gung-ho to call in. and then you couldn't. But that's okay. I do have you. That's okay. If you're legitimately with your grandma, far from me to mock that. I'd give anything to spend a little more time with my grandma. She passed away. So, yeah, that's fine. So, okay, I promised people I'd stick around a little. So, I will stick around. Yeah, the turnout numbers do seem very unlikely with the registered voters. Now, I fully grant that there could be same-day registration that would make that look different. But what are we talking about? To get that down to a reasonable number, we would need something like what? What was the total votes there? Like 3.2 million? So to get that down to the regular 70% number, you would need like hundreds of thousands, like 900,000 same-day voter registrations. And then all of those people that registered would have had to have voted. So it seems very suspect. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, here's the thing. I'm going to be straight up with you. I'm going to be honest with you, right? I think that it's obvious that there are clear signs of fraud. The reason I think this is but let me start off with this, but I don't think that I have definitive proof that any of the situations that I talked about were fraud. I think that if you were going to cheat, this is how you would do it. And it's very suspect that all of these things all go the same direction. They almost all are benefiting Biden and the Democrats, and they all seem suspicious, right? And I also could see the vast amount of cheating that places like the CIA and the FBI did in their coup attempt against Trump. And I see how the mainstream media engaged in, let me take that off. I don't need those anymore. Sorry for the people that tuned in to hear me fight with someone on Discord or argue with them, I guess. But yeah, they backed out. So I'm willing to, if another left winger wants to come on. Now, if you're like, but I'm on the right, I'd like to come on. Nah, don't feel like that. I'd like to have someone that disagrees with me. If they want to come on, feel free to come on. So someone says, wanted to thank you about the idea of having patriots take back culture, but don't we get blackballed anytime we try to enter an industry? Yeah, but we have to start somewhere, right? And I'll get to that. I'll get to what we could do. You're not going to like the answer to that either because it's going to take decades, but what can you do? Yeah, no problem, Dean. Thanks, man. Thanks for the sub. I really appreciate it. Anyways, proceeding. So I can't prove that any of it's fraud, but it seems suspicious, obvious. And I think that everything combined shows that almost certainly there was fraud that occurred. We could see the glitch where the 6,000 votes switched from Biden to Trump. Whoopsie. Doesn't go the other way, just that way. By the way, Bill Binney, who's a regular on left-wing programs like Jimmy Dore's program, been interviewed by Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, and others. Bill Binney, I saw him doing an interview this week that was like, yeah, that doesn't happen. Glitches like that don't happen. These are very simple tabulation machines. And if there's a glitch like that, that was because it's intentional. So if that program was used in 30 states, that alone should be enough for a recount. If we know that there's a possibility to switch, and that switch to vote, a state House of Representative vote. So why wouldn't that be enough to double check and manually count everything if we know there's a potential for glitching? And we see that these races, like look at Georgia, look how close Georgia is. Now I think there's going to be an automatic recount there, but you can see how close these elections are. And if 6,000 votes in one county could switch from one side to the other, though I believe it was maybe 3,000 from Biden to 3,000 to Trump, so it was a 6,000 swing. But if that could occur in one small county, if that occurred in a city, instead of 3,000 votes, it might be 30,000 votes one way instead of the other. That's a 60,000 vote swing. So that's very important to look at, and we should be looking at that. And I won't be on tomorrow. Sundays I usually take off, but you can call Dronetek on his show. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to have you. Anyways, so I'm very suspicious, but let me understand this. You're going to hear this a lot from the people on the left, and I don't blame, if you think I dislike you on the left, I don't, right? I don't. I despise the establishment Democratic Party, but I see how, you could look at me and be like, oh, you're from the party of Mitt Romney? Yeah, I guess you're right. So I'm trying to reach across the aisle. I am. And I also don't mind people on the left coming on and gloating at me. Perfectly reasonable. Now, I will say I was pretty reserved after 2016. I did not go around gloating. I was trying to tell people, look, I think you should join our side. And so I was not gloating. But I get it. Plenty of Trump supporters. Look, understand this. If you're a Trump supporter, they're wrong, but a lot of Democrats thought that the election was stolen from them in 2016. And so when Trump supporters made fun of them, they've been pissed off for 4 years and I can't wait to give it back. And so that's what they're doing. Now you might say, but the election wasn't stolen. Yeah, but that's how they felt. And that's all that matters as far as now them making fun of you. So all I ask if you're coming on to say, you're salty, you look like you've been crying, just make it funny, but it doesn't bother me. I don't blame you doing that at all. No problem. I think you're making a huge mistake. I think that you're trying to vote for someone that you think is going to buck institutional and systemic racism, who's been part of the institution in the system for 47 years. You're voting for someone as a progressive who got his start lobbying for the credit card industry, which put who knows how many poor people out of their jobs. You're voting for a person who eulogized the grand cyclops of the KKK. You're voting for a person that was part of regimes over and over again that involved in these foreign regime change wars. So I think you're making a huge mistake, but that's your right. But if people on the left if you're a Trump supporter and people on the left are making fun of you because it's well, you don't have definitive proof. Look, you would probably say that if you were a Trump supporter, if the opposite happened, right? In 2016, for example, if people on the left would have said, but look, I think I see irregularities in this county that Trump won, and I think that stole this state, which possibly could have stole the election, you would have probably been like, look, you're being a sore loser. Now, I'm agreeing with you as Trump supporters that I see that this evidence, and I see the corruption that's occurred for 4 years to believe that this election was stolen. But I'm just saying, understand that everyone that disagrees with you isn't an evil, terrible person, right? I just want to get it out there. But what I say you say to them is this. Your party and your establishment and your media told us for 4 years that the 2016 election was stolen in large part because 12 Russian trolls put memes up on Pokemon Go and Facebook. And so if 12 people using social media was able to steal an election, what happens when almost the entirety of social media is in the tank for your candidate and we have an even closer election? The truth is, this election was stolen years before Election Day. And that's on Trump and on the Republicans. Now, I disagree totally with SJG. I think Trump was the best president we've had. I think he just made mistakes. But Trump should have took executive action to do something about the Silicon Valley censorship. He should have. He shouldn't have had to because the Republicans in his party should have done something about it, but they didn't. Instead, Jim Jordan wrote strongly worded letters to Jack Dorsey. He wagged his finger at him and said, you better shape up. You better. We're going to get you. And did nothing. Just like Lindsey Graham, right? When the FBI was committing a coup against Trump, what'd Lindsey Graham do? Well, we're going to send some subpoenas out. We're going to get some subpoenas, Hannity. We're going to get them. How'd that work? That's why I'm telling Trump supporters, that's why it seems like I'm angry. Not at Democrats, not at Biden supporters. Your guy won. I think he's terrible. You think he's good. I think he's cheated. You don't. You have every right to be happy. I was happy when my guy won. So I'm not shitting on Biden supporters at all. And I know that might make Trump supporters mad. But I don't care. That's who I really am. That's why I talk about the idea of violence being horrible. We should actually be reaching across the aisle. But the Republicans are the ones that I'm mad at even more. Because we put me included to some extent, put our hope in Lindsey Graham. And we put our hope in Bill Barr and Fox News. How'd that work? And so when I see what I perceive, and maybe I'm wrong, but my perception is now I see Republicans making that same mistake. They're saying, oh, the courts. Put our faith in the courts. That's not good enough for me. Fool me once, shame on you. How am I going to get excited? Like, I keep hearing, oh, we got to get out the special runoff election in Georgia. We got to get out there and support these senators. Why? So Lindsey Graham can have more power? Great. The Republican Party will go back to being the party of Mitt Romney and George W. Bush. That's the Republican Party? I ain't supporting that party. Not happening. I supported Ron Paul. My ideas theoretically align far closer with the ideals of the Republican Party, but not the establishment. To me, it's not about Republican versus Democrat. It's establishment versus the rest of us. And I ain't going to support a Republican Party that's led by these establishment types. Not happening. Does that mean I won't support my local Republican or a particular Republican senator or House? No, that's not what I'm saying. But in general, and so what I see is a bunch of Republicans saying, oh, well, it's not as bad as it looks because we could still keep the House. Why do I care? Well, because if not, then the Democrats will issue their radical agenda. So they're going to anyways. They'll just cheat to do it. You think Lindsey Graham, you think Mitt Romney's going to stop them? You think Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski? We barely got enough controlling the Senate. It was a question mark whether or not we'd be able to confirm judges. We couldn't even get conservative senators as a gimme to vote for these judges. You think that they're going to block something that the establishment wants? Of course not. That's my feelings on it. Oh, we picked up seats. I mean, the Republican. And then, look, and maybe you on the left that are watching, if you're watching, maybe you'll get a kick out of this as I criticize Republicans more. And I lump myself in, though. I really do. We're so beaten. And I don't mean Republicans. I mean like conservative, patriot-minded people. We're so beaten that anytime we get what we perceive as the smallest victory, we celebrate like it's, we just won the Rose Bowl or something. So, like, let me give you the best example I've ever seen of this. I got a deep voice, so I can't be on the... I could have a deep voice as well if you like. We could have the debate like this. That make you sound better? So you remember when James Comey lied to the FBI and lied to Congress, right? And all these people, Mills and Aberdeen lied to the FBI and Hillary Clinton lied to the FBI, and we have proof, and I've proved all that, right? What did Bill Barr and when Brennan lied in front of Congress and when Clapper lied in front of Congress? Remember all that? Now, Bill Barr was the Attorney General. What did he recommend as a sentence for all of them? How long were they going to go to jail? 0. That's what he recommended. He wasn't even going to charge them with the crime. And he didn't, right? Now let's look at Roger Stone. Roger Stone apparently lied to investigators, lied to the FBI. A judge said, we're going to give Roger Stone 6 or 7 years in jail. Bill Barr steps in and says, no, I do not recommend 6 years in jail. I recommend 2 years in jail. And I watched the entire Trump supporting world go, yes, we did it. Bill Barr did it. Woo, finally he came through. Why? Because he recommended 2 years for a Trump supporter, but 0 years for all the people engaged in the coup against him. And Trump supporters are so beaten that they took that as a huge victory. It's unbelievable. So when I hear, well, Mike Cernovich say, well, this sets us up for 2022, or Ben Shapiro, or where I hear, even on Tucker, well, it would have been devastating if we lost the Senate. It looks like we kept the Senate. I just laugh. Great. A bunch of establishment rhinos are back in control of the party. Awesome. That's great. Why do I care? If they couldn't stop the corruption, why do I care to support them? It's the only issue that matters. And by the way, if you're on the left, it's the only issue that matters. Because if your vote doesn't count, if our elected leaders aren't representing the people that they were elected by, what does it matter what you think? What other issue matters? I care things about free speech, for example. I care about not killing third trimester babies. That's something I care about. I care about not getting into foreign wars. I care about the economy and not leaving corporations sell our country out to workers in other countries. I care about our border. Those are all things I care about. Maybe you're on the left. Maybe you're like, my big issue is climate change. I'm actually pro-choice. That's my big issue. My big issue is, racism in America. Whatever. I don't have to agree with you on these issues. I'm here to tell you, regardless if you're me and my issues or you're on the left and those issues, none of them matter if your vote doesn't matter. If they could steal an election, if they have unelected bureaucrats in the intel agencies that can control the direction of election, none of that matters what your issue is at all. So we should come together. We can have the debate about socialism versus capitalism later. We can have the debate about gun rights and should we get rid of guns later. I think you're horribly wrong and I'm vehement about that, but those debates can wait. Because the first thing we should do is come together and be like, how do we end this corruption? That's the point I'm trying to make. But one of the things I see, and this is where, I thought it was pathetic in 2016. Every time I would hear a Hillary supporter say this, well, we won the popular vote. Who cares? That's like winning total yards gained in a football game, but you lose the final score. Sure, it means nothing, okay? That's not the way the votes are tallied, so who cares? But even that, I thought that was sad, but that is so much better than what I hear out of many Trump supporters. You ready for this? You want to hear what I'm hearing out of Trump supporters? Well, at least we proved the pollsters wrong. Okay. That's a hell of a thing to be celebrating right now. I mean, what? So that, when I think the most important thing we could do is acknowledge if we lose, which I think will win the court decision, that doesn't mean I don't think there was cheating. I do, as I outlined. But if we lose, which seems likely, we need to say, here is why we lost. We can't be saying, well, actually, it was a victory because we proved the pollsters wrong. We set ourselves up for 2022. We kept the Senate, which we still don't know. Talk about Pyrrhic victories. Now, as I said, there's two types of election fraud. Two types of ways to steal the election. Election day fraud, like voting fraud, things like that, counting fraud. And then there's stealing the election beforehand. Let's assume you're on the left again. Now listen, you hear me say that a lot. And let me tell you why. Because for me, one of the things I always want to do is try my best. And I fail at this all the time, but I try to look at things from the other side, right? So I'm thinking I think they stopped counting votes in the middle of the night in all these Democrat-controlled cities, said they were done. Then everybody goes to bed, and at 5 a.m., between the hours of 4 and 6 a.m., all of a sudden they all find hundreds of thousands of votes for Joe Biden. What is the potential reason to stop counting votes like that in the middle of the night? There's none. I even asked Democrats. I can't come up with one. Well, they were tired. That's not a reason. They knew how many ballots there were going to be. Most of them were mail-ins, allegedly, that they're counting, so they knew how many mail-in ballots were sitting there. So how could they get caught off guard like that? You didn't have people to come in the evening? It's suspect. And again, that BBC article that I was talking about earlier, it talks about one of the clear signs of voter fraud isn't just unusually high turnout, but it's also unusually high turnout in specific areas. And then things like mysteriously stopping the count at times. That's another example of what our government looks at as potential signs of voter fraud. So it's suspicious. It really is. But I try to look, what would the left say about that? Well, maybe it looks bad, but that's not proof that it's fraud, or maybe they were just tired. I'm trying to come up with the arguments they would say, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. Whatever it may be, I'm trying to always say, if I was looking at this from the other perspective, how would I view it? And then that helps me come up with a better argument, because I am trying to talk to people that don't agree with me as well. What good is it for 70 of us to sit around and say, yeah, we agree. You got to be trying to convincing other people. So this is what I would say to my friends on the left. If you're watching, right? If you think there was no fraud the day of the election, fine. Let's concede that for a minute. I'm not saying I concede that, but for the sake of this argument, we'll concede it. You realize what you're saying then. Has the gravity of what you're saying kicked in? What you're saying is a man, and I'm not making fun of him. And by the way, you could watch all my videos. I've never made fun of Joe Biden. Well, maybe the slightest. But Joe Biden has cognitive decline issues. He does. It just is what it is. The left don't call themselves the left. Well, I don't care. Labels are hard. What would you prefer me call them? Democrats? It's not only Democrats that I'm talking about. There's plenty of people that could be in the Green Party, that could be independent, that are on the left. So I don't really care what they call themselves. I'm just affixing a label that I think in general applies to the people I'm talking about. The right doesn't call themselves the right either, but we don't get caught up on things like pronouns and specific terms that we call people. Just so you know. Anyways, you could have called in JPTV, by the way. But instead, you just want to be in the chat arguing. Kind of telling. Maybe didn't have the confidence you thought you had. But I'm not just talking about American voters. I'm talking about a specific segment of American voters. Those on the left. Anyways, so if you're listening on the left, this is what you're saying. You're saying that a man with cognitive decline that could only draw at max 100 people to come see him, that basically provided zero enthusiasm for anyone, who was the least hardworking candidate probably in the history of U.S. presidential elections, who basically did nothing. That guy, they were able to drag to the finish line. Not because he was talented, not because he had the right coalition, not because he had a base that was adamantly supporting him. He didn't have that. They were able to do that because they controlled the flow of information. You just incentivized whoever whoever the big corporations pick, who Bill Gates picks, or Zuckerberg, or Jack Dorsey, or the CIA, or the FBI, or the people that run Fox News and CNN and the New York Times and Bezos is the Washington Post. Whoever they want wins now. Period. Maybe next time it'll be a Republican. Doesn't matter. If they could drag Joe Biden across the finish line, there is not a person on earth they can't drag across the finish line. That's what you signed up for. It's not coping. It's telling you the truth. Do I sound like someone was coping? Maybe you just joined me. I said, if I was a Biden supporter, I'd be happy. You have every right to pick on me and pick on Trump supporters, that you think that he's good for the country. I think that you're wrong. Let me say another reason that I'm not coping. I think Joe Biden's corrupt. I think this election was stolen in two ways, as I said, before the election through all the corruption of the media, the intel community, other places, during the election with election fraud. However, even then, and I think that stuff should be investigated and dealt with, I am hoping Joe Biden is an awesome president. Period. I'm not hoping that Joe Biden pushes a bunch of policies I like or I wanted, because he probably won't. It's just not going to happen. But maybe he pushes policies that I didn't want and they end up being good. Maybe he pushes through Medicare for all. I have horrible reservations about Medicare for all. But what's the Republican plan? I don't know. They didn't do a good job of explaining it. So I don't like Medicare for all. But if it passes and it's awesome, great. I'll be happy to be wrong. That's what I want. I want more than I want to be right. I want the country to do awesome. And if Joe Biden, which again, for the conservatives in the group, I'm not saying Joe Biden's going to do good. I'm saying there's a 99.99999% chance he is horrible. He's just a corporatist shill for the establishment. That's almost with certainty what will happen. But I hope I'm wrong. I'm not going to cheer for this country. You're not going to see me be like Bill Maher, like, I hope we have a recession so that we could win the next election. No, I hope everyone's finances go through the roof. I hope not one person gets sick. I hope that there's not one person jailed for a crime they didn't commit. I hope everyone's safe and happy and gets back, That's what I want. I'm not going to cheer for bad stuff to happen just because I voted against Joe Biden. So I'm not like... I get it. I get the result, or I get the idea of coming on to a conservative channel, and it's got to feel good. Look, trust me, there were plenty of Trump supporters going on to the Young Turks after the 2016 election, like, yes, look at this person melting down. I'm not really melting down in the way you would think, though. I've melted down much harder than I am now in videos over and over. It's just my personality. I'm one of the happiest people you ever meet, even after the election. I'm having a good time. I got a great wife. I got my first kid coming on the way. It's weird because even with COVID, it's a really tough time in our country. They've stripped our rights like never in my life. It's been terrible economically for me and for everyone I know. I've known people that have lost businesses. Rural Pennsylvania, it's real rough right now. But while all of that's going on, I'm having a baby. So it's like oddly the most exciting, happy time of my life. I'm not a miserable person, but I get coming on and like, you want to make fun of me or like, I want to see a conservative meltdown. That's fine. But I'm just telling you my honest opinions. I don't feel that I'm melting down. So I think we should reach out. As conservatives, we should reach out to people on the left. But you won't. And that's okay too. I understand why. I suck too. Did you hear me? I got on Dronetek's channel and right out of the gate, I saw a bunch of Trump supporters talking shit on me and I was like, blah, 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 blah. Like, I get it. I suck. I get it. I try not to do that, but I fail all the time. Right? There are right now, as we speak, there are tons of Biden supporters that are mocking the crap out of Trump supporters. So if you're a Trump supporter and you see one of those, like, let me tell you something, an easier example. Has nothing to do with which president you supported, though it kind of does. Censorship. I saw plenty of people on the left that were like, oh, well, who cares? It's the private companies. They can censor who they want. And, ha, ha, ha. What are you going to do? Blah, 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 blah. And then I know at least one person all of a sudden started to get censored, and they were on the left. Then it was a different story. What's going on? What's Twitch doing? Why are they censoring this person? That's not right. They're going to lose their livelihood. Now, it would have been easy for me to be like, oh, when it was me, you guys made fun of me. And I would get how that's human nature. Trust me, I want to do that, but I didn't. Because I understood there's something greater to gain. And I was like, yeah, that sucks. That's why we should be against this. Because even if you only get 1% of those people, because 99% of the people are going to be like, shut up, MAGA guy. We don't care what you think anyways. But even if you get 1% of them, Now, look, I understand there's a bunch of garbage people, particularly, I think, on the extreme left, but doesn't hurt to reach out to them. That's better, I think, than just saying, I don't need that. I don't need that to feel good about my life. I don't need to kick people while they're down. It's almost worse than that. I feel bad for them, which is worse than picking on them. So, whatever. But, that's what I think should be happening. However, it is worth pointing out in attempts to show their hypocrisy, kind of some of the things that they've suggested. Yeah, Alpha Dress says, I've always been in the stance as a private company. I've been censored. It's their right. They can do what they want. Except it's not that. When we're talking about private companies, the intent was not to talk about countries that are more powerful than most nations on earth. And when these companies have the ability, for example, as Robert Epstein correctly points out in a hearing in the Senate, to sway 16 million votes, you're literally talking about companies that control the flow of information so much that they can completely control how our government operates. And so at that point, at the very least, we should not be giving them special considerations that we don't give other publishers. They're a publisher. They should be treated as such. They should be broken up as a monopoly as well, is what they should have been. So anyways, to those on the left, or to those on the right, one of the things you'll hear me doing, and I'll do this at some point in a week or two, I personally have said all the while when I looked at all the corruption against Donald Trump, that if Trump did that to his opponents, I would be against it. And I still am. But why does my opinion matter? Why does my standard matter? My guy lost. I lost the election. The left won the election. They did. Biden won. That's what it looks like. It was stolen, but they won. It was stolen in two ways, like I said. Election day fraud and with all the cheating that went up before the election where they controlled all of these places of information for election interference. But okay, if Biden ends up being the president, so that's the standards we should use, right? So the very first thing that we should do now that Biden declared is to the left standards. I don't agree with this. I don't want to do this. But on the left standards, if we're just following the rules outlined by the left, everyone in Joe Biden's camp should immediately have all of their phones monitored. Every single one of them. And if they talk to anyone from a foreign government, they should immediately be arrested. Right? That's a violation of the Logan Act. Clear cut. Incoming administration is not allowed to have their people talking to foreign diplomats. Period. End of story. That's the left's argument, right? Why should they have their phones monitored? To make sure that they're not talking to foreign diplomats. That's why. We agree with that. So Azam, right, you agree with that. If someone in the Biden administration, for example, would communicate with, an ambassador to China, that's a crime. That's a felony, and they should be immediately arrested. That's a violation of the Logan Act. Correct? According to the left. I don't think that. I think that I want my incoming administration to be talking to foreign diplomats. But the media and the left said, no, you can't do that. Right? So that's what we have to look forward to, right? On the left. Right? Azam, anyone on the left disagree? Okay, great. So if Trump does that, you don't get to say he's being a dictator, right? You don't get to. He's just doing what the left did. And you said that was perfectly reasonable. Flynn's still facing a court case, even after the DOJ dropped his charge. Still facing a court case 4 years later over that. So let's drag out those court cases for the Biden people. 4 years. Trump has been meddling with foreign leaders behind the back of Congress. Yes, he's the president. He's allowed to talk to foreign leaders if he wants. That's not a crime. I thought you would know that. That's pretty pathetic. Man, I wish you would have called in. I think I would have really had an easy time of dispensing with your arguments if you didn't know that. No, it's not a crime for Donald Trump to talk to a foreign leader without Congress there. Check out the big brain on JPTV3. Didn't know the presidents are allowed to talk to other presidents. It's great. It's great. No, we're talking about Joe Biden's not elected. He has an incoming administration. He's not president. The left said, that's weird. All the people on Twitch, all the lefties on Twitch got real silent all of a sudden. I wonder why that is. Wonder why. Surely they're all for Donald Trump monitoring the phone calls of Biden's people. No problem. No problem at all, right? Huh. Okay. Silent on that. Well, let's go a step further then. I got some breaking news here tonight in the Normal America show that really wasn't supposed to be a Normal America show. It was just talking to my friend Dronetek. Ready for this? Breaking news. You ready? Okay. So I don't know if you saw my show Monday, but I did a 24-hour show where I had a bunch of congressmen, media people, stuff like that here in Pennsylvania. In setting that show up, I talked to a low-level person that was working on Biden's campaign. Right? You ready? Now listen, everyone, calm down. I'm about to blow your mind with this story. I talked to a low-level Biden staffer. Okay? And this low-level Biden staffer was at the bar with me, and he got drunk, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey, Rob." I was like, "Hey, what's up, low-level Biden staffer? How you doing?" And he said, "Rob, I gotta tell you something. You're not gonna believe this." And I was like, "Oh, okay, low-level Biden staffer, what's happening?" And he said, "I was talking to this professor in Europe, and he told me that I had to talk to this Chinese guy. And I talked to this Chinese guy, and this Chinese guy told me that they have emails of Donald Trump's that they got, and that the emails are really bad about Trump." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, low-level Biden staffer guy. Like, so you're saying that the Chinese government, you met someone that said the Chinese government has emails about Donald Trump?" And he said, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let me get another shot now. That's how the conversation went. So that happened. So what do we do now, my friends on the left? No, AAZAM, that happened. Now you might say, well, how can we believe you, Rob? You were offered a job by the Trump administration. You obviously are biased for the Trump administration. No, that's fine. The bias doesn't matter. Alexander Downer got the Clinton Foundation a bunch of money, right? But the FBI had to believe his story like this. So what do we do? What do we do? If Azam, those of you on the Bear 409, those of you on the left, what should we do about this? Don't you think these are serious accusations? That's a serious accusation, right? Oh, instead I get, "You fat lying fuck, the education gap has failed." Now notice how all these people on Twitch, they were silent when I pointed out what they did with the Logan Act, with Michael Flynn, and how we should now monitor all the Biden folk. They didn't have anything to say then. Now it's just, I'm fat and I'm lying. No, I assure you this happened. This actually happened. So what would it? You think I'm lying, but if I wasn't lying, what would be the recommendation? What would you do, people on the left? What would you do with that? Some drunk said it. He's a Biden staffer. Drunk Biden staffer said it. So what's our recourse? What do we do? Serious allegation. Monitoring what? You remember they monitored Michael Flynn's phone call when he talked to a Russian and said it was a Logan Act violation because he talked to Kislyak? You remember that? You don't remember that? Oh, it's so weird. Oh, because Michael Flynn is cray. And now, you see. So just to finish this story, I don't know if you knew this, but there was a low-level Trump staffer named George Papadopoulos, and apparently he got drunk and told a Clinton ally named Alexander Downer, "Hey, I heard the Russians got emails on Trump." And that was reasons to start Crossfire Hurricane. The entire Russia investigation started from the scenario I just told you. So if anyone hears a Biden staffer getting drunk and saying they hear the Chinese have dirt on Trump, then we have to start a 4-year FBI investigation. We have to. We'll call it Crossfire Corn Pop. How's that sound? Good name for that? Come on, man. Is this Biden in here? Azam says, "Rob, come on, man." Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? Isn't it funny? I mean, the irony here is, look at how the left is like, "That's outrageous. Why would you do that? What a violation that would be." That's what your party did. That's what the Democrats did. And you were fine with it. Totally fine. This isn't a good look. What isn't a good look? Now, again, I'm against it. I would be against Trump using unverified opposition research that his team paid for to spy on the Biden campaign. I would be against that. I would be against them monitoring calls of people that were going to be on Biden's team to see if they talked to foreign leaders and diplomats and then charging them with Logan Act violations. I would be against that. But that's what you were for. It's not an argument, Azam. Please, bro. Please don't bring up our hypocrisy. No, the education gap hasn't failed me significantly. And again, so does everyone see what their responses are? Come on, man, please stop saying that. You're stupid. You're a fat fuck. That's the arguments the left has here. No, I will not donate to the Trump Legal Fund. Okay, Dustin00 says, you're saying the FBI investigated a potential threat to the U.S.? I favor them doing their job. Great. So they should be looking into the Biden team right now, correct? Makes sense. The FBI should be looking into it. They should be monitoring calls. And if anyone on the Biden team talks to any foreign diplomat, that's a Logan Act violation. That requires arresting them, correct? That's the FBI doing their job, correct? You see what happens on the left? And here's the problem. And again, I'm trying to reach out to the left. I am. Most people, and it's not just the left, but it's particularly true of the left, most people don't realize corruption until it affects themselves. Once it affects themselves, then all of a sudden they'll be like, oh, now I get it. So they don't get it. So Orange Man banned. It was fine for the FBI to spy him. Fine. No problem. It was fine to monitor Flynn over Logan Act concerns. No problem. And then to unmask him to the press. Perfectly fine. As soon as you start talking about, okay, well, now the other side gets to do that, they're like, well, that would be corrupt. That would be authoritarian. Come on, Rob, stop talking about this. It's a bad look. It's a bad look to remind us exactly of what we did. My blood pressure, please cope. My blood pressure is just fine. Blood sugar level's a little high. Pressure fine. But again, all it is ad hom attack. That's all that any of them could offer. That's it. Nah, it's cool, Azam. I don't need to donate to the legal fund for Trump. Instead, I make fun of fools and hypocrites like you for the legal fund for Trump. So it ends up working out. It's better than a financial contribution. But it's fine. Now, understand this. They don't have a problem. Can I get what to the Supreme Court? No, I'm just a regular person. If 1/10 of what happened to Donald Trump from the Obama administration happened to Joe Biden from the Trump administration, these people would be rioting in the streets. The people have spoken. Don't you respect people? I just told you 2 ways that I feel that the election was stolen. And even still, the people spoke when they elected Donald Trump, and you still had your party spy on him. That's what's going on. I do have to get to bed here soon. It's about 2:30. But you don't care about hypocrisy. You don't. This is so good. Right, Rich, of course. They don't care. They don't care about being hypocrites. They don't. They don't care about, and I say this all the time. One of people like me, our biggest weakness is the same. It is sad. I agree, Polygat, but not for the reason you think. It is sad to see that you are hypocrites. That's sad. It's sad to see the same. It's sad to see the same people that did that hashtag resistance as soon as Trump was elected, that cheered for the FBI spying on him. It's sad to see those people say now it's time to come together. It's time to come together. I could say that. I am saying it's time to come together, in a sense. I'll cheer for Biden to do well. I'll still try to point out the corruption that I see with him. I think that I have zero faith in the election system, and if this election's allowed to be stolen, no one else should. But I'm telling you, I think we should reach out to people on the left and show them how bad that corruption is. But I'm not a hypocrite, so it's okay for me to say that. It's okay for me to say, don't treat the left as they have treated you, because I didn't treat the left that way. So it's okay for me to say. What's not okay is for you hypocrites to say, oh, yeah, we wanted your president spied on and fought at every instance, but let's come together now. Let's come together. No. We don't want presidents spied on anymore for connections to foreign companies and stuff. We don't want that. No, we're not interested in the Biden's connections to China or to Burisma. We're not interested in that. No. No, we think that Biden's incoming team should be allowed to talk to foreign diplomats, and they shouldn't be monitored and have the conversations unmasked to the press and then be jailed for Logan Act violations. We don't want that. Now it's different. Now that we're in charge, we don't want all that stuff. Let's put it behind us. Rob, please. Oh, it's so funny you're bringing this up. Rob, please. It's a bad look for you to bring up how we're a bunch of hypocrites. That's fine. And listen, I'll finish with this. I didn't leave any office or any vote that I've ever voted for rob me of my